Hey everyone, welcome to this complete beginner's guide to Django. If you have ever wanted to build a website with Python, then you're in the right place. In this video, we'll walk through Django from the basics to building a simple blog app with comments, likes, and search functionality. So sit back and let's dive in. What is Django? Django is a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. It is designed to help developers build secure, scalable, and maintainable web applications quickly. Django is used by many well-known tech companies such as Instagram, Pinterest, and Spotify. In this tutorial, we will build a simple blog application using Django. But before diving into that actual project, we'll cover topics like Django project structure, how to render templates, how to load static files in Django. And after that, we will build applications with features like creating and displaying blog posts, adding comments to blog posts, implementing a like functionality, and enabling a search feature. Under each section, we'll talk about core Django functionalities like models, views, forms, and so on. So subscribe now if you want more videos like this. So let's get straight into the video. So before we start building our blog app, let's first understand how Django project is structured. So now I want to set up my Django project. I'm currently in Visual Studio Code, so this is my preferred code editor for Python and Django. So now I'm in my terminal. I want to create a new directory. I want to make a directory, a root directory for our project. So now I'm going to type in the command mkdir Django blog. So this is the name of my directory for this project. So I've currently created that directory. So I'm going to cd into Django blog now. So I'm currently in that Django blog directory. So now what I want to do now, I want to open this directory with Visual Studio Code. So I can do that by typing the command code and put period to indicate that I want to open this new directory. So I'm going to have a new window pop up now. So this is my new window, and this is the new directory that we just create now, Django blog. So now I'm going to go, yes, I trust the authors. So I'm going to go to the terminal again and create a new terminal. So now the next thing we want to do is to create our virtual environment. So it is really advisable to create virtual environment anytime you're starting a Django project. So now I can do that by typing the command python -m venv env. So I'm currently creating my virtual environment now. So it's currently loading. Yeah, so now I've created my virtual environment. The next thing is to activate the virtual environment. So to activate the virtual environment on Windows and on Mac is different. So on Windows, I'm just going to cd, I'm going to go into my env. What I want to do actually, I want to go into this file, this script. So env slash, I'm going to slash scripts, then slash activate.ps1. So this is how you can activate your virtual environment on Windows through Visual Studio Code. But if your command line is like if you're on Windows and your command line is like let's say command prompt, you don't need to add this ps1. So if you are using PowerShell for your command line on VS Code like this, you add this ps1. So now I want to activate. So now I currently activated my virtual environment. But if you're on Mac, to activate your virtual environment, follow the instruction on the screen to activate your virtual environment. So now I've currently activated the virtual environment, as you can see now. So the next thing now is to install Django. So I'm going to install Django. I'm going to type the command pip install Django. So Django is currently installing. So now we have installed Django. So the next thing now is to start our project and to start our app. So now to start the Django project, I'm going to type in the command also Django admin start project, and I'm going to call the name of my project my blog. So now we have already started our project. This is my blog, and this is it right here. So let's just quickly see what we have inside this my blog project that we start. First, we have this my blog directory. So this is the root directory for our project, and it contains files. This file, as we see here, init.py, asg.py, settings, urls, and wsgi.py. And we also have this manage.py. So now this manage.py is what Django use, is the command line that help us to interact with Django project, and it is used for running command. For example, if I want to start my app now, I'm going to use this manage.py to start the app, to run server, to run migrations, and so on. While in this init.py, it marks the directory. It marks the directory as a Python package. It makes our machine to understand that this project is a Python package. And this settings.py, this is the main configuration for our project. It contains database configuration, the secret key, the installed apps, and so on. While this urls.py, it is where we define our URL pattern for our root user request. This is the main URL for the project. And this asgi.py is the entry for asynchronous servers, although we're not going to be using this. Most of the times you don't even use it, it's already configured with Django when you installed it. While this WSGI is the entry point for traditional web servers. For example, if you're going to, let's say you are hosting your Django project on any online server, so this is what you use to connect your application to that web server. So now the next thing we want to do is to start our app. So now this is just our project. Now we want to start app because Django can contain different applications. For example, if you are building a very complex website that you have like a section, you have like an account section where people can register, let's say an e-commerce section, a different section. So we create different app for major sections like that. So now this one, now I want to start another app. So to start the app, first thing first, this is where my manage.py is, and I'm in this Django blog. So now I have to cd into this my blog, which is the root directory of my project. So I'm going to cd my blog like this. So I'm currently in my blog. So now I'm going to type the command python manage.py, this manage.py start app, and the name of the app is going to be blog. So now we have already started our app. So now let's quickly see this project structure of this our app that we start now. So here we have this migrations here for our database migrations, and also we also have init.py, in which we have talked about it before, and we have admin.py. This is what connects us to the admin panel, Django built-in admin panel. We have apps.py. We have this models.py where we write our Django models for our database, and we have this test. We have views.py where we configure the views, where we write all the old API requests for our project. So now what I want to do next now is to run migrations. I want to run migration. So now if I run migration, when you create a Django app, you have to migrate. You have to run your migration. So I'm going to say python manage.py migrate. So this migration is going to create a database, an SQLite3 database for us. So that is a built-in Django database. So this db.sqlite3. Although if you can still change it to any database you want, maybe MySQL, Postgres, and so on. But for the sake of this project, I'm going to work with what Django gives us, which is this DB SQLite 3. Now we can run server to see Django built-in test page. So now how can you run server? You're going to type in the command python manage.py run server. So that is there's a built-in Django test page that we are going to see. So I'm going to click this link. Yeah, so this shows that we have successfully installed Django, and we installed Django 5.1, one of the latest version of Django. So now I'm going to go back to my project now. So now let's see in this app now. This is our blog app. There are some things that is here that is meant to be here that is not here. Now Django expects us to create ourselves. One is the URL, the app URL. So I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name this file urls.py. So now this urls.py is just specific to this app. So it's where we configure the URL specific to this app that we are in. Another thing I want to create now is two files, two directory actually. So now one is I'm going to create a new folder. The first one is templates. I'm going to explain it in a second now. And that one I want to create is static like this. So now, so this static is the directory where we keep all our static files. Now our static files are files like CSS file, JavaScript, images, and every other thing that you want to put there. So we call it static files. While these templates is where we put our HTML files. So anything index.html, home, blog, any HTML file. So this is where we put it. It is, let me say, mandatory, or it's just, this is where Django renders, or this is how Django will be able to like identify your HTML files there. So the next thing I want to do now is to show you how to render templates. What we just have before is just a built-in Django test page. So now let us render an HTML page and probably display an hello world message. So now let me close all this. Let me leave these views. So in this template now, we want to render a template. I'm going to create a new file here. So I'm going to name this file, let's say home.html, but I might still delete it later. Home.html. So this is our HTML file here. So in this views.py, this is where we write the logic of our program. So I'm just going to come here and say I'm going to write a function define home. So it's going to be a request like this. Then I will return render. So render is like a shortcut, a Django shortcut that we use to render templates. So I'm going to call it like this, render, pass in the argument request like this, then the name of your HTML file. So this home.html, I'm going to put in a colon like this and call it home.html. So now the next thing we want to do now, we want to configure this app, this views function in our URLs. So I'm going to open this blog urls.py. So here I'm just going to import an app, let's say a function or a module, a built-in function, which is path. So I'm going to import path like this from django.urls import path. Then URL patterns like this. Then I'll call the path. I'm going to give it an empty path like this, an empty string. Then home. One thing now is to this home is this function that we have here, this home that we define here. So what I need to do now, I have to import. You see, it's already flagging it. It puts like it underlines it that it doesn't understand what this is. So what can I do? I have to import that home for my views. So I'm going to write from .views, which is this, from .views import home. So now we just need one more thing to display our page. First, let me just come to this home.html and display hello world. Let me put h1 hello world. So now if I save this and go back to this my, let's say our browser, we are still going to see, okay, it's loading. So we are still going to see this Django welcome page, this Django test page. Why? Because I told you before that there are two URLs in the, like there's a main URL in our project. This is my blog URLs. So this is the major root URL of our project. So I'm going to come here. You see, here we have this part admin. So this is what is already if I don't configure this for the admin page rather, so that I have to configure our app, these blog URLs, before Django can see that our this app URLs that we have here. So how can I do that? I'm just going to call another part like this, and here I'm going to leave it as an empty string as well. Then I'll use another Django function, include blog, this is the name of this app, blog dot urls. So the same way I have to import this include, so I'm just going to put a comma here and put include. So now if I save this and reload, is already reloading, so and come back here, I should see hello world displayed. Oh yeah, there's one thing that we did not do. Template does not exist at all.html. The reason why we're having this error is because anytime you start an app in Django, you have to register that app in settings.py. You know, when we start this app blog, I didn't register it. That's why it's telling me templates not found. So I'm going to go to this settings.py. Let me close this. Let me close this too. Close this. I'm going to leave this too. Why is it like this? So now I'm going to go to the settings.py. There's a place here that is called installed apps. So now, you know, when we start our app Django, this blog, I didn't register it here. So please, anytime you start an app in Django, install an external app, please register it here. So I'm going to click on enter like this and register the app, the name of this app, which is blog. So blog like this, then save it. Okay, our page is already reloading. It's reloading. So now I'm going to come back here. I should have hello world displayed. So hello world. So that's how you render templates in Django. So first you define your view functions. You create a template directory, the name of your templates there, configure the URLs in the app URL, and majorly don't forget to configure this blog, your app URL in the root URL here, which is you add include blog.urls. And also anytime you start an app, install the app, configure the app, register the app in this installed apps in your settings.py. So these are just some prerequisites that we do anytime we start Django project. Actually, anytime I start Django project, the first thing I do is register the app, create this urls.py, and configure these URLs in my root urls.py here. So now the next thing, we have learned how to render templates. What about how to load static files? Because in a normal HTML or in a normal front-end project, you just link your CSS or your JavaScript or your image file by just typing the, let's say, the path. But in Django, it's different. So first thing, to load static files, for example, let's say this home.html now, I want to like link a CSS file into it. So first, in this directory, I'm going to create a new, for example, let me say a new folder, and I'm going to call it, let's say, CSS. Then let's say in this CSS, I want to call like style.css. So this is a static file. Anything that is not HTML file, we call them static. Like in Django, your CSS, your JavaScript, your image, they are all static files. So now, let's say I come here, wanting for Django to load your static files in your settings.py here, where we have this static URLs, static. So another thing I want to add is static root like this, and I'm going to use os.path.join static. First I'm going to call base directory and that's called dir, then static files. So after that, I'm going to import this OS. So I'm going to say import OS. So let me restart my server. So I'm going to say python manage.py run server. Okay, before then, let me cd into that my blog, cd my blog, then python manage.py run server. So now we have already configured what we need to configure in our settings now. So let's say here in this style.css, I just want to write a basic style. Let's say body background color blue. So body background color blue. So in this home.html now, so this is a Django template. Let me just change it here. I want to change it to HTML because I want to use some HTML tag here. So here, let me do. So this is just like a Django code. Let me see, is it code abbreviation? So if I press tab, it's going to give me my basic HTML structure. So here, let's say I want to link this style.css that we have here into this home.html. You know, in the normal front end, you just click your link tag, and you say link rel, probably style sheet, then reference. Probably normally we do like css/style.css. Like this is the normal conventional way in which we link like our HTML, our CSS, or yes, our CSS into like our HTML normally. But in Django it's different. So the first thing you need to do is to load static file. So here I'm going to write, let me change this back to Django templates, Django HTML template, sorry. Django HTML. So now I'm going to do something. You use these curly braces with this percentage and you write load static. Sorry. You load static like this. Then here in this reference, instead of writing it in the way we link it, is you do something like this, percentage, again this curly braces, then you say static, you call the static, then you give the path for where you are going to. This CSS, the directory is css/style.css. so this is how we load static files in Django. Then here, let me write my h1 back and hello world. If I save this and go back to my browser, I should have a blue background color. Okay, it didn't work. That means something, I didn't do something wrong. So the problem is I didn't spell this style sheet well, so let me write it well, style sheet. And if I save this and go back to my browser, so I already have this blue background color. So that's how you load static files. So the same goes for JavaScript file or any image file. So in the same way, let's say I want to load an image. So you know, image source. So the same way, instead of me to just write the source, let's say images/a1.jpg. So instead of just writing it like this, you put it in a curly braces like this, and remember to put your percentage, then static, and put them in a colon like this. So this is how you link image, and it's the same goes for script too. Let's say script source, then you do it like this too. So you see how we did static, CSS, then style.css. An image, I didn't have an image out to show. So this is the way you load static files in Django as well. Now I've prepared to start the project, our blog project. I've prepared a template for so that we'll not worry about the front end part of this project. So we are basically going to focus on the back end part of this project. So now I've prepared a template and it's on my GitHub repo. So now I'm going to go to my GitHub now. So you can follow the link in the description or look at the screen to copy the link to the repo. So I'm going to go to my GitHub now to go and copy the link to that repository, that template that I've created. So this is my GitHub now. So this is the detail.html and the list.html for our blog app. So now I'm just going to come to this code and I will copy this repository URL. Now if I go back to my project and go to the new terminal, so I'll go to my terminal. I can just create a new terminal here, or let me work with, so let me cut the one that is currently running, and here I'll run git clone and I'll paste my URL, now my repo URL. So I'll paste it here. So git clone this. So it's cloning the blog template. So it has already cloned this repository. So if I come to this my file here, I have this blog templates here. So it's in this my blog, this blog template, and it has this detail and list.html. So what I just need is the detail. Okay, we have this the detail.html and the list.html. So here I'm just going to copy these two. I will cut it from here, I'll cut it from here and enter my blog, and inside this template I'll paste it here. So I'll paste it here. So now the detail.html and the list.html are inside this my templates directory. You know that in Django, all our HTML files are in our templates directory, spelled like this. So now I don't need this. I can delete this now, this blog templates folder that I copied, or we can just leave it since we don't need it now. So let's just leave it now. So now what I want to do now is to define a view function for this HTML and this list.html to see what is actually inside. So I'm going to close this and I'll close this. So I'll bring this down, then I'll go to my views.py here. So here I'm just going to say, in this place I will say define blog underscore list. So it's going to be a request, then I'm going to return render request and list.html. The first one, the list.html here. Then after that, in this part I'm going to define another function that will be blog detail, and it's also going to be a request, just like how we define our functions in Django. Then return render request, and that will be detail.html. After that, I'll go to my urls.py here, urls.py, and in here I'm going to import those two views. So from .views import blog list and what blog detail. So here we can just say path, and I'll say the first one, let's say is the home page, the list page is our home page, and I'm going to say blog, I'll put comma and I'll say blog list. So let's give it a name, and it's going to be list. Now the second one is the detail. so I'll give it another path, and here is going to be blog detail like this, and the name should be detail, just like the name we want to give it. I will explain that later. And here, so now you know this is an empty path, so here if you slash, I'm going to say, if you say slash, or let's say slash posts, so we are going to see this blog detail. But when we open our page for the in the home page, we'll have this the list page, and if you slash post, we have the detail page. So although we are still going to work on this proper in the next as we go on in this tutorial. So now let me run server here, python manage.py run server. So our server is currently running. Okay, it says, see what it says here. Let me enlarge this. It says that what the as a root beginning with a slash, so remove this as it's unnecessary, so we can just remove this. So we don't really need this after this that we can put it, so we don't really need to put it in the beginning. So if I save and refresh again, so now we currently do not have any issues. So if I go back to my browser, and here if I refresh it, so now we have this our list page now displaying. So here is our nav bar. This is the template that we like cloned from GitHub, and here is the footer. So here is the news, like the news card, and here is going to be a carousel. So since there's no image, that's why it's just empty like this. And when we do slash posts, okay, oh, in the templates that I copied, there's something there, this tag here, so let's just go and remove it. So just to know, this is already working. So I'm just going to go back to my code now, and this detail.html, let's say here, sorry, if I remove it and go back to the browser and refresh, so we have this our posts here. And if I come back here and remove this post, I have this my list.html. So our template is currently live. So now, and let's continue. Let's go and build our models, our database models, and we'll continue from there. So the first thing is to write our models first for our blog app. So Django models is where we write our database model, where we communicate with our database. So Django uses what is called object relational mapper, so ORM. So it helps us to write Django mode to communicate with the database without writing raw SQL queries or raw SQL code. So we just write like normal Python or Django code, Python codes, and we can communicate with our database. So now we want to start with our blog app. So now what we want to create, a blog database where under this blog we have like the title of the blog, the image, the dates, description, and everything, like a table. So how can we do that now? So class, I'm going to call it class blog, then models.model. So like this, the first thing is title. So I'm going to call this models.charfield. Max length should be, I want to give it a max length of 200. So the length of our title, the maximum length should be 200. Then image. Now image, I want to use charfield too, because I want to be copying. This charfield is just like a character field, so that's just the long form. So max length, you can say around 2025. So because I want to use the image link, I don't want to use file upload because I don't have all the files on my system now. And this is really advisable too, because if you are building a large project, so most of the times you use an external cloud like Cloudinary or Amazon Web Service, where you put all your images in, then you copy their link into your project. So I want to do something like that here too. So I want to use, instead of using image field, so if I want to use another thing, if I want to use image field, there's something that's called image field. If I want to use image field, I have to install another app called Pillow then how to configure it, but in this tutorial I don't want to use that now. So the next thing I want to use is the context of the blog, or the content. And this content, that is, we are going to use something that is called rich text. Okay, first, don't let me use it first. Let me just say models dot text field. Let's use this first. Then description. Our model is going to have description, our blog is going to have description, and we're going to call models dot, it's going to be char field also, and the max length is 300. What else do we need? We have dates. Now these dates, the dates that the blog was posted, we're going to use models dot date time field, and auto now add, that means I want it to add it automatically. I'm going to set it to true. Now for our likes, because our blog is going to have likes too, so it's going to be models dot positive integer field, because you cannot have negative like. So default is 0. Then I just want to return a string like this, sorry. So here I'm going to just return self.title, so this title of the blog. So this is how we can create models, or this like this. Now I've created my Django blog model, or in a way Django blog database. So what do I need to do now? Okay, at the same time, I also want to add comments to my blog. So I want to create another model for my comments. So class comments. So also models dot model, and here we are going to want to link, because the comment is linked to the blog, to each blog. So let me say posts. So here now, what we want to do is that I want to link this comment model to this blog model, because it's not a separate, they are linked together. So how can you link them? The way you can link them is using something that is called foreign key. This is applicable in all database, like in all languages. There's something, although the way you write them is different. So foreign key is what you use to link a table to another table in like databases in SQL. So but in Django, these are write it. So I'm just going to say models dot foreign key. So now this foreign key, I'm going to copy, like I want to link this blog. So I'm going to pass this argument blog that I have here. That means the name of this, where I'm linking it to this blog. So blog, then I want to give it a related name, because I don't want to call it post. I'll call it a name, just like another name. I want to call it comment. Then on delete, models dot cascade. Now what this on delete models dot cascade does is that, we link this model to this model. So what happens if this model is deleted? So if you delete this model, this on delete means that if you delete like an object of this model that is related to this should also delete automatically. For example, if there's a blog and someone made a comment on the blog, and that blog is deleted, so all the comments on the blog should also be deleted too. So that's what this on delete models dot cascade does. So now the next thing that we want the comments, the name of the person, name should be models dot char field also, and max length should be, let's say 300. Then what do we want again? We want the name. Okay, we've written the name. We want the email, models.email field, then max length, let's say 200, or we don't really need to put max length for the email. So the next thing we want to, the body of the comments, what do you want to write? So models.text field, and also date. So in this date I will have models dot date time field, then auto now had should be true. So now we have already created our blog and comment model. So the next thing we want to do is to run migration. So first I have to run, anytime you create a model, you have to make, we have this migrations directory here and there's nothing inside currently. So now if I run this command now, python manage.py make migrations, then you see create model blog, create model comment, then we have this here 001, the first model that we create. So if I run python, after you run make migration, you run python manage.py, you have to migrate it into the database. So python manage.py migrate. So it's running migrations and we are all set. So I can run server now. Run server. So now what's the next thing we want to do? So now we need to create our views now. So now I'm going to go to my views now. So since we have defined our models now, so in our views is where we write the logic of our program. So now I'm just going to say from .models import blog, that blog model that we create. So now here there are two things that I want to pass context for. So now first is carousel. In our blog, in this our page, we have carousel. So this carousel is going to come from our database too, and we have this blog list, the post actually, and so this is also going to come from our blog model database too. But the only difference between the this carousel and this post is that in this carousel we are going to limit it to only last four posts, while this is going to get all objects in our database. So how can we do that? So if you go back to our code now, so here I'm going to pass like a variable. I'll say carousel. Now carousel, first let me pass in my post first. So I want you people to understand, I want you guys to understand something. So I'll say post for all the posts. So I'm going to call this blog model now. I'll say blog, then dot objects dot all. So this objects dot all means you should get all the whole objects in this database model. Then after that I want another thing, which is my carousel, and in this carousel is going to be the blog model 2 dot objects also dot all. But the only difference is that here we are going to order by negative ID. Then I'll pass in this array method, and I'll get the last four posts in the blog model. So this one is getting all the posts, while this is only getting last four posts in the blog model. So after that I'm going to pass in the context, this post and carousel I'll pass in my render. So I'll put comma here. First let's put to enter here just to space to make our workspace beautiful. So here in this render I will say posts, then I'll call this posts that we have here. So I'll call, before that we have to put these curly braces, then I'll say posts, then I'll call the posts, then we have what again? Carousel. Then I'll also call the carousel. So here in the context, this is the name we are giving the context, while this is the variable. Here too, this is the name we are giving the context, while this is actual variable. So in this place, I can call it anyone. I can call it post like this. I call it post one. It's still working. But for just sake of simplicity, because if you just give different names to your context, it might confuse you. So I just like to give the same name for my context and variable. So carousel, carousel, post, post, like this. So this, we are currently done with this list view. So now I'm going to go to my templates. Now I'll open this list.html. Now before we do anything else, there's something I want us to do. If you notice, for example, let me go back to the browser. So if you notice now, this is our list page, right? What do you notice? We have navbar, we have what? Footer. If I go to my detail page too, so here too we have navbar and we have footer. So how can I make this simplify? How can I simplify this? Since we have this component in all our pages, why it doesn't make sense for me to just be copying, to be writing the same code in. If you have like 50 pages, so I'll be writing navbar and footer in the whole 50 pages. So there's a way Django helps us to solve that problem. So here in my templates, I'm going to create a new file here. I'll say new file. I'll call this file base.html. Now in this file now, I'm going to copy what is common in this list page and detail page. What, like the components or the let's say yes, the HTML component that's going to be in the whole pages. I'm going to copy it and put it in this base.html. So this is what I'm saying. We have this doctype.html everywhere, and I have this edge tag everywhere up to this navbar. They are going to be everywhere, isn't it? Even there's something wrong here, sir. This body is not supposed to be there like this, and I don't think this div is doing anything yet. So what I'm saying is that, okay, we have this doctype HTML that is everywhere to this navbar. So I'm going to cut this and paste it in my base.html. Then what else is common in the whole pages? We have our footer. The footer is in every page. So I'm going to copy this as well, cut this actually, and I'll paste it in my base.html too. So also we have our, let me close this body tag because we open it and it's not closed. So I'll close this body tag. So these are the components that are common in the whole pages. So we have navbar, we have footer, and this basic HTML. So you see in our list.html now, it's just what we need, the carousel and the news card that is there. So how can I, let us do the same thing for this base.html too, for this detail.html rather. So in this detail.html, all this doctype.html, all this, we don't need this. Up to the navbar, we do not need them. So up to this, we don't need it, and the footer, I can delete them. So I'll delete this. So now the next thing we need to do now is to extend this base.html here. But before that, I'll come to this base.html here. Sorry. After this block, the body, after the navbar. Sorry, so this body is not supposed to be here like this. So now after this navbar, and between the navbar and the footer, I'm going to create a new div inside. So div, I'll close the div. Then inside this div, I'll say block content. These are Django HTML tags. So here I'll say block content, and there is going to be end block like this. Then also in the title here, I'll say just the same thing we did. So block title, then end block. Now in this my list.html, now I'm just going to extend base.html to this page. So how can I do that? I'll just say extend base.html. Then I'll say block, so block title, end block title. So here is just going to be the title of, like, the title. So here let's just say blog. Then after that we are going to block contents. So block contents and end block. But now, so this end block content is going to be, I'll cut it from here and I'll paste it at the bottom of my page. So I'll paste it here, since everything that we have here is actually our content. So if you save this now, then in my detail.html I'll do the same thing. So let me just copy this, let's say copy, and in detail.html I'll paste it here. So the title should be so I'll give the title later. Let's just leave the title here. There's something I want to do. Then let us end block here too. So end block. So if you save this now and go back to our browser here, so let's go back to our browser and refresh it. So everything is still working. If I go back home, everything is working as if nothing actually happened to it. And you see here is giving it blog, the title that we put here. And if I go to posts, it doesn't have any title because we have not put the title here. So that is how you can extend content or extend pages in Django. So since we have done that, let's go back to the browser now and let us work on our views that we just did. So in my list, I don't need this detail.html yet, I don't need this base. So now in my list.html, look, we have this carousel. So since we want to work on our carousel now, but everything is coming from our database, and now we have not actually posted any blog in our database. So Python or Django has an admin page. So if you come here and look at this admin.py, so it has an admin page. This is what I'm saying. If I go to the browser now and instead of /post, let's say /admin. So Django has a built-in admin page for us. So it's from this admin page that we can post our blog and interact with our data. We can interact with like the backend section of our project. So since we have not created we don't have any user and we don't have any password. So I'm going to come back here like this, and here I'll create a super user. See how I can create a super user in Django. I'll say Python manage.py create super user. So username, leave blank to use user, so I'm just going to leave it blank. Email address, I'm just going to put my email address. So that's gmail.com. Then my password. So my password, I'm just going to use any password. So type in a password that you like, then you confirm the password again. So the set password is too common, yes. So now we have successfully created, a super user created successfully. But now go to this admin.py in your page, is in this blog. So admin.py, and here just say register your models here. So this is where we register our models. So I'm just going to say from .models imports blog. So now I've registered my blog. So we can also register your comments too. Comments. So here I'm just going to say admin.site.register. The first one is what? Blog. Then admin.site.register, and the next one is what? Comment. So after that, I'll come here I'll go to my terminal again and restart my server. Sorry, python manage.py run server. So it's currently loading. So yes, our service is live. So here, login with the username, the super user details that you use. So my username is user, my password is the password you used before. So, and login to your admin dashboard. So it's currently logging in. Yeah, so we have this here blog, we have the blogs, and we have the comments. So now let us add few blogs. Let us add like 5 blogs into our project. So here I'm going to come here and I'll say add blog. So the title of this blog, let me just search let's say football news today, just to copy. So I will pick, I just want to post as much as possible, at least like 5 posts. So here, this I will copy this this image URL. So I'll say copy image address or copy image link. So I'll copy this image address. In this image, I'll paste it here like this. Then also, so this is the title. So I'll copy this title like this and come here. In my title, I'll paste it there. In the contents, I'll just copy the contents that we have here. I think this is okay since it's a test page. I'll paste it here in the contents of the post. So in the description, let's say we copy the first paragraph and paste it here. Then I'll save. So we have currently added our first blog. Let's add another one. So I'll come back here again, look for another news. Let's look at this. So you can just pick as much as possible. You can pause. I'm going to pause the video now and I'll add. Okay, I'll copy this also and paste it here. So now here I'll copy this image address, image link, or no, image address or the link, and I'll paste it here also. The contents. So the contents, let's say you can just copy some few paragraphs like this, and I'll paste it here. In the, what is it called? Let's say the description, let's paste the first paragraph there. Then I'll save this. I just want to add like 5 actually. So now I'm going to pause this video and I'll add as much as possible news. Now I've added up to 5 news, so you can add up to 5 or more than 5. Just add as much as possible news that you want. Then we're going to go back to our code now. So here we have registered this. I don't need this admin.py now. So now let's work on this carousel. So how does this carousel work first? So first, these are the carousel indicators. So the 3 dots. If I come here, I don't know if we can see it from here. Sorry. Let's go back to our home page. So I don't know. Okay, the indicator is currently not showing, but I will explain what it means very soon. Or let's go back. If you know how carousel work, so this is like the first indicator. In this carousel, it shows that we're having 3 carousel, like 3 items. For example, if you see here, this is the first item, the second item, and the third item. Then here are the carousel indicators. So in a way, how can we look through our database to get this news, all these carousel item, the news, the image from our database? So we can do that by first, let's work with this first. So here, so remember in our views.py, we define carousel here, and this is what we use. Carousel blogs.object.all, we are getting the last 4 items in our carousel. So how can we do that? So here I'm going to loop. So this is how you loop in Django templates. So I'll say for the, for example, for I in something, so I just say for item in carousel, this carousel that we define here and that we use here. So for item in carousel, I'll now say for this image is going to be item dot image. Now for this title, for this h5 is going to be item dot title, and here is going to be item dot description. Item dot description. Now since this is the only news, I will end for here. So we actually need one, what's it called, we actually need one of the news, like one of the carousel item. So for this for loop, it's going to create more carousel item as much as what is in our database. So if you have 5 carousel item, so it's going to create this 5 div. So all these other divs that we have here, we don't actually need them. So now what is the next thing we want to do now? Now the next thing we want to do now is that here we don't need this. But before I delete this thing, you see the first item, the first carousel item, it has this Bootstrap class that is active and others don't have it. So how can we do that now? So here I'm going to use another condition here, an if condition in my templates here. So I'll say here, I'll say if for loop dot first, that means if this is the first item in the for loop, it should be active, but if it is not, it should not be what, active. So now with this, now I can delete all these carousel item that we have here. So since we don't need them, we actually need one out of it actually. So I will delete this. So this is going to loop through our database to get the number of carousel that we want. Now the next thing is this carousel indicators. For example, now let me just go back to our browser and I will refresh it. So now we already have this from our, what's it called, from our database. So this is the first news, the second news, the third news. But here actually it's supposed to get 4 news actually, but it's telling me, okay, let's count it. Okay, but there's something actually, there's still something we need to do. You see, it's not going back again unless I refresh it. So this is the first news, second news, third news, fourth news. But when you get to this fourth news, it's not doing anything again. The reason is because of this carousel indicator. It's only seeing 3 here, and it's actually 4 news that we post. So how can we solve that? I'll go back to my code now. So here in this carousel indicator, the same thing we did. So I'll say, so here for item in carousel also, for item in carousel, so I will end the for here. I'll end the for loop here too. So end for. Please, in Django template stack, if you say for loop, you must end the for loop. If you like this block title, I end it. This block content, I end it. So if you don't end it, for example, I just want to create something. For example, let's say I delete this one like this, and I go back to my browser. If I refresh it, it will say invalid template tag or closed tag, template syntax error. So that's why anytime you use any Django template tag, you have to close them like this. So let's go back to this our carousel indicators now. So now let's look at this button. What is actually happening there? So here you see from data bs target, we don't need this. So data bs slide to 0, the active, the first one is active. This one is going to 1, this one is going to what, 2. So the same way, we only actually need 1 actually. So here if I try to, let's say, let me just put some enter tag, let's do it like this so we can see what is actually happening here. sorry. So now here, button type button. So here the first one is active but others are not active. So how can we do that here? So the same way, I'm just going to use this percentage tag, this Django HTML tag, template tag rather. So here I'm going to say if for loop, the same thing we did before. So if for loop dot first, it should be active, then end if, like this. Then how can we do this one? So this one is going to be here, I'm just going to say for loop dot counter. There's something that is called for loop dot counter. So this for loop dot counter, it's like counts the objects that we have in our database, like the loop. If we have like 5 items, so the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So now, so since this, for example, if you see before what we have here, so this is like, so this one is like 0 abi. So now I'm just going to say for loop dot counter, then I'll put 0. This shows that starts from 0 here, and here I'm going to say slide 1. So here is going to be for loop dot counter, also for loop dot counter, but here is not going to start from 0, it's going to start from 1. So like this, we are done with our carousel. So if I come back to my browser and refresh this, look, now we have how many? 4 carousel indicator, and if we go like this and go, so you see everything is actually working and the carousel are working. But another thing I want to do now is that if you notice, I want to change all this text to be white, and this maybe indicator should also be white, and this is too big, it's too long. So how can we do that? So here in this place, okay, first let's say in our image, I'll say style, and I'll say max height. Max size should be 600 pixel. Then in this here, in this our h5, I'll say style, I'm going to say text decoration. This is like basic CSS, this basic CSS actually. So text decoration should be none, then color should be white, and here to style, color should be white as well. What else? In this indicator, I think the span here, probably, okay, this is the button. Let's say style, I don't know if this will work. Let's just try style color white, and here to style color should be white as well. So I'll save this and go to the browser now. Let me refresh it. So yeah, we have all this, our news to be white here, but something else is still not working. So I'm just going to come back to my code now. This 600 pixel, let me change it to 500 pixel. The max height should be 500 pixel. I'll save this and refresh. Okay, yes, it's working now. So now the next thing I want to do now is to work on this our post card. So this our news card rather. So I'll come here after, yeah, this is the news card here. So here in the news card, here after this row, in this place, I'm going to say, so now in this place now I want to loop through something else. So for item, now we are not looping through our carousel here, we want to loop through our posts. So here I'll say for item in posts, then after here, let's see, I think after here, no, sorry, yes, let's end for here, end our for loop here. Then so for item in post, here is the image, Abby. We are going to say item.image. Now in this alt is going to be item.title. Now this is the card title, right? So that is going to be, I will delete this and turn it to item.title as well. Now this is the description. Now here delete this, is going to be item dot description. But there's something I want to pass here. There are some descriptions that are long, some are like long description, and if just to make everything uniform, I'm going to truncate words to like 20 words for each description, irrespective of the length of the description. Sorry, I'm not supposed to come here yet. So the next thing now, here is our comments, like and comment section. So here we have the likes. Here should be item dot likes. Now, and also here should be, in this comment now, we are going to say item dot comment dot count. So after that, so item dot comments dot count. Then after that, I will save this and go to the browser now. If I refresh, okay, all our news is already here, but there's something that is not working. So it's supposed to like list them in a row. For that error is because we end the 4 in the wrong place. We put this end 4 in the wrong place. Let's see. So after this place, we are going to count 1, 2, 3 divs. So we should, at the end of 3 closing divs, 1, 2, 3. So our end 4 is supposed to be right here. So if I save this now and go to the browser and refresh it, so it's already working. So this is the news that I posted. So our list page is already done. So this is our news and this. So everything is currently working well. So let's work on our detail page now. Now I'm going to close this and also close this. Then I'm going to open my my views.py. So I will remove this sidebar. So now we want to work on our blog detail view. So the same way, I'm going to call a variable post. So now to get the detail view of my post, now I'm going to use another built-in Django function. This function is called get object or 404. So I'm going to import it here. So I'm just going to write get object or 404. So from Django.shortcut import get object or 404. Then here I'll call it get object or 404. Then the model, which is my blog. So after that, here I'm going to pass in an argument here, which is pk, just like what we have here. And here I'll call it primary key is equal to primary key. You know, each blog post should have a unique primary key. For example, the first blog post in our model like 1, the second one 2, and so on. So then I'm going to add it to my context here. So the way we used to add our context, so we have posts, then posts. So let's go back to our detail.html and work on it a little bit. Okay, yeah, but before we go to the detail.html, let's go into our urls.py. So here, instead of having only posts, so let's say post slash, the primary key of the post. So it's an integer, just number. So int, then I'll say primary key, then slash blog detail like this. Then I'll close this part, come to my detail.html. So in my detail.html here, we have this blog title. So I'm going to say, what we in our context, I passed posts like this. So here I will just say posts.title for my title. This one is just for the title of the browser, of like the HTML title. Then so these are news detail now. So we have div class row, div class column. Here is the image, so this one is going to be posts dot image. Then let's the alt should be posts dot title. Then this is the card title, so I'm going to say posts dot title again, and here published on, so here should be posts dot date. Then here should be posts, the content, so posts dot content. So after that, so here is the like button, and here is the comment count and the comment section. We are going to build that in just a minute now. So here we have already, like, we are halfway done in our detail.html page. But if I go to my browser here, if I click read more, it's not still going, it's just like hashtag, like the URL, the reference here is hashtag. So let's link it to the each post. So I'm going to come back here, I'll go to my list.html, sorry. So in this first, in the, let's say here, let's add a tag. Yeah, this one is for the carousel anyway, so I'm just going to add a tag and reference like this, the way we link normally in HTML. But the only difference is that, so instead of me to just pass like slash detail.html, so this is the way we do it in Django. I'm going to pass in this Django template, and I'll call URL. Now where am I linking it to? So I'm linking it to, if I open my urls.py, you know, we are linking it to the detail view. So the name we give it here is what? Detail. So in this detail.html, no, sorry, in this list.html here, so I'll pass in detail inside like this. Then, you know, each item has each post has a specific primary key, just like what we have established before. So I'm going to say item, just like this item that we have here, dot the primary key. So this one is for the carousel. So let's go for the read more, for the card, that read more. So this place here, so we already have a reference, the target. So I'm just going to say it's a percentage URL detail, and after the detail we are going to just pass in item dot primary key and save it. So if I go back to the browser and refresh my page, so here if I click on read more, for example this news here, click on read more, you see we are here, the post one, this is the title, and this is the content of the post. And here, so okay, this likes, we are still going to work on it now. So you know, we have not liked it, and this comment, they are still static comment. What I just want to say is that, see, we already get the image, the title, the dates, and the content. But first, look at the way the content is. It's not exactly the way we copied it. The reason is that in the Django, in the models, we just use models dot like text field, but there's a specific app, or a specific app that we can install to Django that can help us to edit the content. It's just going to be like a small word template, or what will I call it, a small template, or a rich text field. That's actually the name. You see what I'm saying in a couple of minutes now. So let's go back to the code. I'm going to close this list.html, close this urls.py, probably leave this detail.html and views.py. So I'll come here in my in my models.py. So here, instead of using this is what I'm saying, you know, we just use models.text field. So I want to use another so here I'm going to come to my terminal, and I'll break this, like I want to create. So here I'm going to install this. So I'll say pip install Django ck editor -ck editor, like this. So it's an editor, this app is an editor. So I will install it. So I've currently installed Django CK editor. So now when anytime we install, because I've installed it before, that's why it's telling me requirements already satisfied. So here in my settings.py, anytime we install an app, I said it that you register the app in our installed apps here. So here I'm just going to pass in CK editor like this, save it, then go back to my models.py, close this. I'll go back to my models.py, and in my models.py, in this context, first I'll say from ck-editor.fields import which text field. So in this context now, I'm just going to pass in this content instead of models.text field, I'll just say which text field like this. Then we have changed something in our models, so you have to run, you do again Python Ctrl L, so Python manage.py make migrations. So then I'll say Python, forget about this, it's just telling me to install the latest one, so it doesn't really matter. So Python manage.py, then I'll say migrate. So after that we can run our server. So if I run server now, Python manage.py run server, so our server is already live. So let us see what we just did. So if I come to my post here and I /admin, you see the CK editor now. I /admin and go to my blogs. So let's see, I think this is the first post. Sorry, I don't know why this is coming here. So yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. So instead of just having a text field, so we have a CK editor in which we can use to edit our, our news. For example, if you put like something like this, you try to edit your news very well. Probably you want to bold this first words, you can bold it like this here, let's say. So you can use this to edit as much as you like. And if I save it, sorry, so if I save this now, so we have already edited it like that, and go to my blog, my post, the first post. So here, read more. So you see, okay, yes, the reason why we are having this p strong as if an HTML tag inside it is, let's solve that problem now. So you go to your code in this detail.html, let's just reduce this terminal. So I will close this models.py, and in this detail.html, in post.content, I'm just going to add this, like this sign, like, and I'll say save like this. If you save this and go to your browser, if you refresh, so you see now we have it exactly how we edited it. So now we are done with the post detail. The next thing we want to work on now is the likes, comments, and the comments form, and how we want to handle our comments, and that will be the end of this video. So let's continue. Let's work on our comments and our comments form, including our likes too. So I'll come to this views.py. So now first, for our comments form, I'll come here in this blog, I'll create a new file. So this file is going to be forms.py. So in this form.py, let me close this. So I'm just going to import forms. So import forms. So from Django, import forms. Now the form we want to we are talking about here, we are using this model, these comments. We want to link this model to this form. How can we do that now? So here I'm going to say from .models import, what do I need? The comment model. Then I'll say class. We define form just like the same way we define model. So I'll say class, let's say comment form like this. Then forms dot model form. Then after that, I'll say class meta, just like this. Then I'll call the model. The model is what? Comment. So after that, I'm going to call the fields. So what are the fields that we need in our models now? If I open this models.py, the comments place, so we don't need this post because it's going to automatically, if you click it, it's going to get the post for us. So what I need is my name, the name of the person that wants comments, email, body, and we don't need date. So it's just these three that we need. So in my forms.py here, in the fields, I'll say fields like this, and we are going to have, let's say, okay, name, email, and comments like this. So if you save this, so we have defined our forms now. So in my views.py, so here I'm going to call some functions again. So I'll say from .forms import comments form that we just did, and these models we are going to also import comments. So now in this place now we are going to now say comments, just like a variable again, is going to be posts dot comments dot all, like this. Now comments, now this post, now the comments that we have here is from this model. You know, this post, we will give it a related name like comments like this. So in this views.py, so we now say comments should be what? Posts.comments.all. Then, so now let's undo our form now. I'll say if request dot method is equal to post like this, then form should be what? Comment form that we created. Then it's going to be request. I'll just pass in request dot post like this. Then if form dot is underscore valid, that means if the person filled the form well, is underscore valid. So I'll say after that, I'll say comment is equal to form dot save, and commits is equal to false. So first, then I'm going to say to get comments dot posts is equal to posts, and after that we are now going to save our comments. So I'll now say comments dot save like this. So here, if the form is valid, we call we create a variable, we say form dot save, but it should not automatically, this commit false means it should not automatically save it to our database. Then after you have saved the form, so this one should get the post, like the post where you commented. Then after that, you can now finally save it. So after that, we are now going to redirect. So if everything works well, so we are just going to return redirect. Then we are redirecting to the detail page where you made the comment. So then pk is equal to pk. So here we need to import redirect. I think we can just add it here, redirect. So then, so after that, so else form auto comments form like that. Then I'm going to pass in my form here. So I'll say form, then form. Also I want to pass in my comments. So in the same way, I'll say comments, then comments like that. So like this, we are done with the views. So then, but I think we are having an error. Let me see my terminal saying Django call. Let me just break it and run server again. Okay, we're having an error. Specify comment. Unspecify if your unknown fields comment. Okay, let's see where is it coming from. Unknown field comment, specify for comment. So let me come to this forms.py. Okay, this is the problem here. So name, email, let me check my models. Name, email and body, not name, email and comment. Sorry, where is it? In forms.py. So name, email and body. So if I save and reload it, so let's come here. So let me just break it and run server again. So everything is working well now. So if you go to your browser and you refresh, although okay, cannot access local variable, form is not associated with a value. But let's go to our code in this detail.html. I'm going to close it here, this one first. So views.py, I think everything is still working well. So let's see our details.html. Where is the form actually? So this is the comment form here. So we have form method should be post. So we can say inside there, I'll say after you use form, we say csrf underscore token. So it's going to create a like a specific what's it called, a unique token for our form. Sorry. Then inside this part, I'm just going to say form dot has underscore p like this, and I'll save it. So if I go to my browser and refresh, so I'm still having the same error. The reason for the error is, so here this else should be, or after this, like not, it should be here. So if I reload it and go to my browser and refresh, so we have this. So the form that we just created now, this is it here, name, email and body. So one thing, what do you notice? It's just a basic form. Like the design is not looking like, it's not looking, sorry, so it's not looking like a normal form. So let us design it, but we have a problem. The problem is that look at the way we got this form. So if I go to my browser here, if I go to my code here in detail.html, so after form method post, you must always add the csrf token like this. So this is what brought out the form actually, this form.as underscore p. So there is no HTML tags here. So how can I edit this form? Actually, there are two ways you can do that. First is by probably going to your browser, viewing your page source. If you view your page source, in that leave a comment side. So in this leave a comment side, so you see leave a comment, so it created all this for us. So you can just copy it like this and go and paste it there, then design what you want to design. But this is not the most efficient way. So here the way we are going to do it is, I'm going to add, we are using Bootstrap, so I'm going to add my Bootstrap classes for my form. How can I do that? So I'll go to my code now, I'll go to this forms.py. So here like this, I'm going to pick each one of these. So first I'm going to say widgets first. So widgets like this is going to be an array like this. So now I'm going to be picking this thing one by one. So name like this. So name is what is a text input. I'll be just like this. So I'll say forms dot text input like this. Then I'm going to add attributes. So these attributes now, so in these attributes I can add what I want to add a Bootstrap class like this. So class is what, form control like this, a Bootstrap class. So if you had class form control, it's going to change, like it's just like adding class form control. Then although you are going to see what happens very soon. So here email, I'm going to say forms dot email input. Then I'll add attributes like this. Then it's going to a Bootstrap class as well. So here I'll put commander is telling, is bringing all this error. So we're adding a class also. So it's going to also be form control. and here is also is going to be body. So this body is going to be forms.text area, and we are going to have attributes the same way. So here is going to be class, sorry, we are adding class, then also form control. So here, not only class, you can add placeholder. So for example, if I want to add placeholder, although I'm still going to, you can say placeholder and say let's say enter your name. For example, this is just like to understand, for you to see what this actually does. Enter your name. So we are, for name that is text input, we use text input. For the ones that is what's it called, also, but first I'm going to add comma here. So if I save this now, so let's say, let me come here in my terminal and run server again. So python manage.py server. So going to my browser, and here if I refresh it, see what we have here. So with this, from that my forms.py, I've edited this my comments form. So you see the placeholder that we have here, enter your name. So it's not really necessary, so I'm just going to remove it. So I hope you have seen how you can use forms to design, how you can use forms in Django now. So here we don't need this placeholder, so I will remove it. So if I save and come back and refresh, you see everything works well. So now let's work on the functionality of the form. Although it's already working, but let's work on this part, this comments part, the comments list. This one you see is lorem ipsum, and let's work on this like and comments as well. So here I'm going to go back to the code now in this my views.py. Actually, is it my in detail.html rather. So here in this comment side, here is going to be let's say comment.name. So in that part is going to be comment.name. Here is going to be okay, but first here I'm going to link I'm going to look through my comments. How can I do that? So I'll say for comments in comments. Don't forget that the comment is what I'm doing. Actually, I'm calling this variable, this context that we have here. So here I'll say for comments in comment, and after the UL I'm going to end for. Don't forget to always end your block or your for loop. So here is going to be comments.name, and here is going to be comments.body, what the person actually said, comments.body. Then here is going to be comments.date, comments.date. And so here is that if there is no comment, it should be no comment yet, be the first to comment. So how can we do that? So I'm just going to use a tag like percentage, so this empty Django tag. So if empty, it should say no comments yet and be the first to comment. So, and here in this part now, so here I'll just say this 5, it should be comments. Now I'm using my comments dot count. So, and also in this place it should be comments, this 5 here, comments dot count, like this. So I'll go back to the browser now, and if I refresh it, so here we have what, comments 0 and no comment yet, be the first to comment. So let us comment now. Let's see, that's in, okay, let's say John Doe. Wow, what a great, let's just say great news, and I will just say post comments. Okay, this, thank you, you see what I'm saying? So this is an email. Okay, the name should be complete like this, John Doe, and let's say doe@gmail.com, doe@gmail.com, and I'll say great news, post comment. So now if you see, your comment is here, John Doe rate news, the time you posted it, including the time, and you see the comment count is working 1, and here we have also 1 comment. So let's just put space here. So I'm going to come to my code, and this part I will say, where is it? No, yeah, comment.body, let's put space here, and I'll go back to the browser now, refresh. If I refresh it, you see, so now we have our space great news. So what else do we want to work on here? So here we want to work on our likes, so let's work on that now. Before we work on our likes, let me show you something. You guys might wonder that why here in this part we are using like comments, we are not putting s, but in this comment.count we are putting s. Like, so why? Don't worry, here we are looping through something, and when we are looping through our database, it's just like when you say for I in something. So this is the variable, or this is our contents, or this is where we are looping through. So this is like the name, the argument that I pass in. So I can say I, if I change here to I and change everything to here to I, it will still work. But here it's outside the loop, so we are not looping through anything. So I have to call the variable itself. So that's why I'm calling the comment here. So since it's outside the loop, and this count is just like a Django function that will automatically count the number of comments or the number of items that we have here, that we have there, and that is why we use comment count there. So let's come back here into our views and define our like. So here the method I'm going to use to do the like post, we can do it in actually like 2 ways. We can use JavaScript and we can use what's it called, Ajax, but here I just want to use pure Django. So since this is a Django tutorial, so there I'm just going to define a function. So the function is going to be define post underscore like, which is going to be request like this. Now, so here I'm going to get the post also. So I'm just saying post equal to what, get object of 404, which is going to be blog, and also I'll pass in my primary key here, and here I'm going to say primary key is the argument that will pass there before pk, like this. Then I'm going to say post dot likes plus equal to 1, and I'm going to say post dot save. Now you may wonder, where did we see these likes from? If you go to our models here, models.py, we have this what likes here that we say models.positive integer, which is default is 0. So here, let me close this. So in my views.py, I'm just going to say plus equal to 1 anytime you click a URL like that post like, then post.save. Then after that, I'm just going to redirect you. We are going to return redirect to where actually, so it's going to be to the detail page with pk equal to primary key, like that, the same page where you like the post or outside that side. So then, so after that, so we are just going to pass this to our urls.py. So I'm going to open the urls.py now. So here urls.py. Now here we are going to add another one, which is post like this. Then to see also, I'll paste it here. Now this part is going to be post int pk, then post underscore like this. Then here we are just going to say like underscore posts. Now the name should be what, let's say like directly like this, like. Then you have to put a comma here. So after that, we can save it. So I'll go to my detail.html now, where I have like button, this form method post like this. So the action, I'm going to add an action here. So I'm just going to pass the URL, which is what, like this. So after that, I'll save currently in the browser now. If I refresh this page, okay, we are having an error here. The reason for that error is because I didn't add the primary key. So I'm going to say post dot primary key like this, and here that we have two like this, I'm just going to say posts dot likes, posts dot likes like this. So if I save this and go back to my browser like this and I refresh, so here, so we are already seeing the number of, if I like it again like this, we have what, 4 likes, and I like it again, we have 5 likes. So our project is currently working. So we are done with likes and we are done with comments. So if I go back home, so home page like there, so here, okay, is working also. 5 likes, 1 comment, 0 comment. So everything is working as they should currently. So if I click on this and I like this, let's say I like this, I have what, 1 like. So and go back, if I go back home and refresh, so it has already changed to what, 1 like. So now what else do we want to do also? So the next thing we want to do now is that, okay, yeah, our search, we want to make sure our search is working, and after that I want to make this stat block clickable, that if you click it anywhere it should link back to home page. And this h1, this tag, I don't want it to have any text decoration. So how can we do that? So I'll go back to my code now. So I think we are done with the detail.html. So I will open my, what's it called, my list, my base.html first. So in this base.html, in this nav bar here, the reference, I will say percentage URL, and it should go back to what, list page, that's home page. So that is 1. So I'll close this now. Then I'll open my list.html. Yeah, first my list.html. One thing I want to do for this like that we have here too, where is it? Okay, I think we should leave that first. So now the next thing we want to do now is to work on our search. So here I'll go to my views. I'm going to say define search like this. Then it's going to be request also, and here we are going to have let's say queue like this. So we are going to have query rather. So we are going to have query like this, and it's going to be request dot get like this, small letter get, and queue like this, then what we are looking for. Then after that we are going to have results is equal to, so we are going to say blog, our blog model dot objects. Now we want to filter dot filter. Now what do we want to filter? The title, that's what we want to filter, the title of the object underscore I contains like this, which is equal to the query. So this one you can search with, is case insensitive. It doesn't matter if you are typing, if you search with lower or uppercase. So then we are going to return render. So we are going to return render, which is going to be request. So then after that we are going to have search.html, where we are going to see our search results. Then I'll pass in my query like this. Then also I'll pass in my results like this, and results also. So after that I'll go to my base.html. So you know our search bar is in our base.html. Okay, let's say before that, let's go to our urls.py first. So I will add another URL to these URLs. So I'll do that by saying paths, then I will say post slash search, then it's going to search, let's say search results is going to be, let's import this our search view. So I'll pass in the search like this, then I'll give the name to be search. Then after that, I'll go to my base.html. So where I have my form, so in this space I'll give form action. So it's going to be percentage percent URL, then search like this, and here is going to be CSRF underscore token. We have to pass it there and give the name Q. This name Q is very important because that is what we give this in our query. We pass in this Q as the name of this input there. So then I will save this. So after that, I'll create a new template. So this is going to be search.html. We search.html, and inside I will extend my base.html. After that, I will block title just the same way we used to do it. I'll block title. So block title and end block title, I'll say search results. Then after that, we are going to block content. Block content and end block content. So here I can say div class container, then my 5 like this, then end my div like this. So after that, is our search that we are getting. So what we want to display is the card, like those news. If you search like let's say Man City, so you should get posts relating to Man City. So we need our postcard, our news card. So I'm just going to come to this my list.html, and I will say, okay, first I will say let's say div class row, then I will end my div like this. So I'll come to my list.html and I'll copy this, everything that we have here, to this point, actually to this end form. Then I'll copy and go to my search.html. I'll paste it there. Now the only difference is that instead of item in post, it's going to be item in results like this. So then what if I will add a container here? Div class is going to be container, and here is going to be, I will close the div, and we are going to have let's say an h5 tag, and I'll say search results for, then passing our query, what you search for query. So now what if when you search something that is not in our database or there is no news like that, so what can we do? So here I'll say, like, pass this empty tag before my end form, and I'll say let's say h5 no results found for your query, what you search actually. So I'll pass in query here. So I'll save this, go to my browser. I'll go to my browser and refresh my browser. So here I'll search, let's try our search now, let's say Man City, search. Okay, can't resolve title, the keywords title I contains into field. So what we have is content, dates, description, I do. Okay, let's see. Okay, how can we solve this? Okay, saying title underscore. Oh, I've seen the problem here. So here we are supposed to add double underscore. So here I'm going to go back to my code now. So in this place, in this, what's it called, views.py, this is the way the problem is. So I'll add another underscore. So it's double underscore. Now what's this title is that we are getting title. You know, our models.py, we have a lot of things there. So that's why in this place it's telling us that our options, I can filter with comments, I can filter with content, dates or description, ID or image, but we are filtering with what? Title. So that is the work of that title, and this I contains means that it's what? Case insensitive. So we want it to be case insensitive. If not, if our post is in our what you search must exactly be what is in our post. So that is that, and that is done. So another thing I want to say is that this base.html, we actually don't need CSRF token since we are not submitting any form actually. So let's remove this CSRF token, then go back to the browser and refresh. So everything is working now. See, search results for Man City. So this is what we have here. So if I search Ronaldo, I don't think we have any good post relating to that. So it says what? Search result for Ronaldo, no results found for Ronaldo. And if I click my that block now, from anywhere I can go back to my list page. So let's just take care of this this h1 tag, h5 tag we have in our carousel. So I'll go back to my code now and close this, and go back to my list.html. So in the carousel part, where is it? So style text decoration is none, color white. So this should work. Or let's put this here, Ctrl C, let's paste it here also and see. So I'll save it now and go to the browser. Let's refresh. So now, yes, it's working. So relentless will wear down Man City. If I click this news, and this is the news here, if I like it, it's working. And I can also come back home from here, and here I can click any other news that I want to read. So different news, I can like, I can comment, dating, like email, let's say UI, let's just say this, thanks for this. So our comment is already here. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to this channel, share this video, and turn on your post notification for more videos like this. So thank you for watching.